This conference will now be recorded.
First order of business is the annual town meeting warrant draft. Let's just. They just haven't updated. Yeah, I can update them, I just haven't. It's just a bummer. But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as in the budget, but we have to specifically vote in a separate article.
So it's already, the correct number's already in the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
I didn't have it.
Okay.
I mean, it's like, it's a simple administrative task.
No, I just wanted to make sure that if they were, my concern was if they weren't here, they weren't there.
Yes, no, they're there, they're not here. The next article is the budget, which we just been budgeted, the revolving funds. And then we get to an interesting article, which is the amount of, so this is gonna be the general conversation, I think, that's most important tonight.
Do we have any?
We do, kind of. So, the way that things are planned now, we don't have any free cash to make additional debt payments.
Do we know what the required payment is?
It's basically for the library and the tandem axle, it's the same as last year because I kind of knew this, but it's becoming more clear to me now. It's the same every year, the principal payment.
Okay.
It's the required principal payment is usually a fraction of the usable life,
Right.
the useful life.
And
So
you don't change that.
if a dump truck has a 10-year useful life, it's actually 1/8. You subtract 2 years, and so it's just simply 1/8.
Right.
And that's simple. The library is 1/18 of the original loan amount. That's the minimum principal payment, so it's stayed the same year over year.
Right.
Roger's pulling it up. Roger, can you go to the left so we can see the? You were at the right height, but.
Right there?
Yeah, so the principal payment on the library stays the same at $70,950. The principal payment on the tandem axle stays the same at $25,000. The principal payment on the highway truck, this is the first year that we are required to make a principal payment, and that's 1/8 of the total $160,000.
Which is,
Authorization $20,000.
okay. Sorry.
And we're not required to make a principal payment on the rescue vehicle yet.
Right.
And the interest numbers are just simply dictated by the borrowing.
I didn't switch those yet. I haven't updated.
So those are accurate minimum payments, and I think basically we don't even really need a hold unless someone's gonna say that we should try to put beyond minimum payments in the operating budget, which I don't think makes sense given what we have going on this year.
So the,
But we're also lacking free cash to make additional principal payments, which I think we'd likely wanna do. There's a solution that I'm just gonna throw out there. We're really strapped for free cash. I mean, the ambulance is eating up a very large chunk of it. We've actually already taken some items that are normally paid for with free cash and put them in the operating budget, being the retiree health and life benefit and the Lake Garfield.
right.
All things considered, I think what might make sense for freeing up some free cash to actually pay down some debt with would be buying the police cruiser out of stabilization.
That would buy us another
Yeah, I
70
don't
grand.
think it's a horrible amount considering what we have in stabilization.
And it doesn't mess with the tax rate for other years, like some other choices have,
We can't
so.
do anything, to the tax rate, so taking it out of stabilization makes no sense.
I agree.
So
I think we're kind of obligated to the additional principal paid on the library.
to a degree, I mean, we're not legally obligated, but
No, but
we have
we have
the nonprofit put a lot of money towards the principal. And I think it's also a good, I mean, paying down debt is a great thing in all regards. So
Absolutely.
the highway would stay the same, which would be the 100,000 total. The tandem axle would stay the same as last year, because that helps us pay it down over the course of, let me pull up the numbers here. So the renewal amount on the tandem axle is 40,000, is that right? And our appropriation is 25,000.
Yeah. Wait, does the renewal amount mean the total amount remaining is 40? Yes.
Yes, that's.
Yeah.
Do I have a copy of this document somewhere? I don't think so.
These are the notes maturing in October or November. Notes maturing October 30th. So the renewal amount in the library is 504,000. The renewal amount on the tandem axle is 40,000.
What did you say for the library?
$504,050. Is that what you have?
575.
575,000. So this
That's what you're asking.
That was the
minus
maturing, right.
minus the required minimum. So we have to pay 70,950. So that's why I was wrong.
Oh, that's why you said that.
So if we renewed and paid the minimum payment, it'd be 504.50. So that's actually very helpful. So if we renewed and paid the minimum on the tandem axle, it'd be 40,533. If we did what we did last year
And put an extra.
and put the extra 7,776, then it'd be 33, and at that rate, it'd be paid off in 2 years.
How did we come up with the 70,000?
Because basically, if we pay that required principal plus the 7,000 this year and next year, then we're done.
Okay.
If we do the minimum of 25,000,
Then
it's another year.
Right.
So that's why we had done it. And the F-550 last year, the appropriation, the operating budget was 0.
Right.
So technically, this is the first time that principal is due on the F-550, and we paid off almost 50% of it.
Right.
I got a question. Didn't they, might be on that, the medical, didn't they think it was gonna be below what they thought it was, what they requested? Because they got that F-350 at a lower.
Yes, but we still borrowed the full amount.
They still borrowed it.
So there's a way, if we end up knowing that we're finally done billing, we can vote away that money that was never truly spent.
We did that on the library.
We did that in the library, but without it being finished, we can't do that
Yeah,
yet.
right, okay.
But there's no required principal payment on a medical rescue vehicle, but we could do something like pay off a fifth of it or a sixth of it, or put something towards. I mean, we have it sitting here.
How much money do we have to
It's
distribute?
only today, so I didn't go through the trouble of trying to come up with a debt plan, because technically right now we have no free cash available. So this all hinges on everyone agreeing at the table to buying the police cruiser for stabilization, and then we basically have that.
Which would be approximately 70.
That's 69, so.
So,
Right now, it's priced at $69,384.90.
Did you ever find out what model we found?
No, I think I have.
Oh, by the way, go ahead.
So what you're suggesting is that maybe we use some of that, if we take the police car out of stabilization, we don't need, we can use some of the money that would be freed up in free cash.
Towards that sort of.
Debt services. What's the life of the medical rescue vehicle?
whatever we said of that.
Yeah, that's a double.
One
sword.
other thing, so I talked to Sean and Chris about the turnout period. And basically, here's the trade-off. The current gear have PFAS in them. Polyfluorinated alkyl something. or
It's
other.
plastic.
Right. However, there are health concerns with PFAS. So this year is the last year you can purchase legally turnout gear that contains PFAS. When they discontinue it, the price of the PFAS-free gear, and he told me it's about $5,600 currently. It's going to go up either $1,300 or $1,600 per set.
So for your second.
Yes.
And how
So,
many do we need?
I don't remember. Do you remember how many sets of turnout gear the 75 days include?
I just spoke with Sean today. It's about $5,000 a piece.
5,000.
Something like that, yeah.
I thought it was 5,700.
He said, he gave me a couple different numbers. Yeah, it's right around there. It's like 75, so it's like 12 or something.
Right. So if we could put it off, but then we have to pay a much higher amount per.
Yeah, but if
It
they,
would
we bought,
always be PFAS free, but
if you bought them now, they would have the
PFAS in it.
PFAS in it.
Which they don't seem to, like Chris's response was like, the data isn't that strong, that PFAS is a problem. I'm like, it's in there, it's gotta be a problem.
When I spoke with him today, I asked him, I asked Sean to think about, come back to us sooner rather than later about whether or not they can buy all of them, whether or not they should buy, what those costs are.
Cause, yeah, I mean, I don't wanna spend the extra money, but I wanna have 5 or 6 years from now, cause that's just really kind of the way that stuff goes. You know, it's in your body.
I know.
It
The things are
actually,
bad.
it collects in your brain.
So, Roger, not to, so are we undecided on fire gear, or if we wanna put the money towards it or not?
Right now, we're undecided. I spoke with him today. He said he would get back, he would get in touch with me.
Well, can you go back up to the budget, and can we work up some numbers, cause I'm only really figuring this out today, but I'm figuring it out pretty quickly. It's coming back.
Yep.
So, OPEB should be something that we did last year. So if you go up retiree group health life stabilization fund appropriation,
Oh, that's it right there.
slash OPEB, that was really supposed to be OPEB.
This right here, right?
The one right above it.
Oh, there, okay.
Then if you go up,
The police cruiser, I put the ambulance across there, cultural council.
so the additional payment on the library, that's what gets us to 100,000 principal.
Right.
So assuming that we're gonna do that, let's carry that number over.
The 29,642.
Yeah.
No, 29,050.
And then the principal payment on the tandem axle,
It's not on 50.
That's what it was.
Yeah, cause it's,
is from last year.
it's 70,
No,
it's
79.
79.50.
I thought it was 79. Okay.
But that's the appropriation.
So the tandem axle, I think we should also keep the same because that will allow that vehicle to be paid off in 2 years. Clean.
I have a question, because we're talking about, you know, the fire
65%.
department's gonna order that company they were dealing with, fell through the deal.
On the fire truck,
Yeah.
that we signed the contract for.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were bought by someone else.
Okay.
So, what is the timing? They haven't, I talked to them a little bit after Saturday meeting. What is the timing of that fire truck coming?
He said it's not coming.
I know, but they're looking at an
At
alternative.
least 2
one.
years.
2 years?
I'm betting, yeah. I mean, they were saying 2 years initially. I
I
don't think
know.
that's gonna get speeded up by having.
Well, I wouldn't be
contract.
surprised if some things don't get speeded up because of the way they're withdrawing federal financing. People that were gonna use federal dollars are creeping them out.
But on the other hand, it might get faster
That's what I'm
because
saying.
people.
That's
can't
why I'm trying to think,
order.
raise our debt in a year or two. When we consider, do we go ahead and buy the turnout gear now because in 2 years, we may have that will be more expensive, and then we may be looking at financing a fire truck.
Well, we're getting this all squared away, so the tandem axle is this year and 1 more year off, right?
I agree with
The
you.
F-150's an additional year beyond that,
Right.
but there won't be a lot of overlap between either of those two vehicles
Going into the fire truck.
and the fire engine. We didn't borrow, the only vehicle that we borrowed since the medical rescue vehicle was the big fire engine, right?
Yeah.
So we're not borrowing little vehicles anymore. We're trying to avoid that. And we can buy the last F-550 that needs to be replaced, if we want to, we can buy with Chapter 90. They changed the law,
Oh, they did?
so that you can buy plow trucks with Chapter
Oh,
90.
that's good to know. So then we're in pretty good shape.
So we're in pretty good shape. I think, can you go back to that sheet? So, for the highway truck, last year we put 29,000 from free cash, which was I'm trying to look, it was a quarter, so we'd have it paid off in 4 years.
The highway truck is the F-550?
Yes, it's not actually a 550.
Right,
It's
yeah, but-
international.
Similar, right?
But if we have a required minimum payment of 20,000 principal,
Yeah.
so we can drop that number to 9,642.40 and still follow the same total principal payment to pay it off.
So with a minimum payment, we have about 68.9 left, and you're suggesting we do what?
If we do 29,642 as the total payment,
Yeah,
then it would be
so an extra
2 more
9,000.
years after this year.
Okay, gotcha.
Because we're dropping it right about
Right,
60, 30.
Point taken. Yeah,
So that's the goal, and then the last remaining question is, and Roger, maybe, did you add in that little thing that shows how much free cash we have left?
Well,
Well, we gotta take the police
Taking
cruiser
that
out, right? Yeah. Or that's our proposal anyway. Oops. We're paying for it twice.
Very true. So that's with it, right? That's what we have.
makes me feel better that you did that, because I accidentally do that in spreadsheets all the time. It's so irritating.
What am I doing here? I gotta go here. Oh, this is where I have to go. Minus. There we go.
So we have 40,000 in free cash left if we buy the cruiser out of stabilization and continue our plan on those three. Or continue our plan of paying them down at a higher rate.
Roll it back up a little bit. Okay,
So the last
that's with the additional library part, okay,
remaining question is,
and that's with the turnout
it is with the
Not-
full turnout.
with the full turnout count, but not with the police station, okay.
The remaining question is, do we wanna put something towards the medical rescue vehicle? Cause right now there's a maturing note of $127,000 and change, and we're gonna be paying $6,000 in interest. And
What are we willing to go down to, with free cash?
I don't like going a lot lower than 40.
I don't either.
So in some ways, like 30 maybe, in some ways, we might, if we're not buying the turnout gear, maybe we put a dent in the medical rescue vehicle.
Oh, if we're not buying it, yeah, it's not worth doing. I agree, but if we're not, I had a process, if we're not doing the turnout vehicle, then we take a piece of that.
Maybe we divide it by 6.
Yeah.
Just seems wrong to have a vehicle,
20 divided by 6 over 20.
just that much more interest we're gonna pay
I know,
every
and
year.
we don't.
Well, but we do.
We do, he's got it back.
It's just got that.
Okay.
It's not,
We just
I don't think
have
it's
the number.
fully done.
No, I don't think it's fully done, but we have it.
It's usable.
I don't know if it's in service or not. I don't know. But
Looks nice.
at least I feel like there's some breathing room now that we have the cruiser off of our back. Because between the cruiser, the turnout gear, and the ambulance, that was like all the free cash.
And then, I think he's gonna put those two older vehicles up, right, we're gonna sell them. So that'll add to the free cash pile for next year.
Which are the ones?
The two vehicles that.
The brush and the
brush
rescue.
truck and the rescue. we've been getting good prices for that, but who knows now, that was a
Well,
weird.
used prices with trucks going up,
Did that, can you change the total? No.
with prices in vehicles going up, I'm sure the used market. will be
Yeah,
better,
okay.
you know.
Okay,
Is that all of those items?
kind of.
Yeah. Did we put anything to stabilization last year? We didn't, right?
We've never really put anything in stabilization since I've been around. We've also not really taken from it. What we had done is take some old accounts and put them into the general stabilization.
They were already existing.
We took a little bit out of stabilization last year. In buying a truck, we used part of free cash for stabilization.
Stabilization. At
But,
some point, we're gonna have to start putting money back in.
yeah,
It's not good.
So if you use the stabilization for the police cruiser, that's how much is left in stabilization.
619,000.
619.
I'm not used to.
Do you have on that, your, what we got in chapter 90?
You know,
It was close to 900,000.
well, right now we got about 700,000, but the state is, giving us, like 350,000, but then I just got an email the other day that said they had extra funds available that they were going to be distributing as well, but I can't figure out what those are. I haven't seen an actual number yet.
I wish
So-
I had that, bro.
We're gonna have like, I think it was gonna be 1.1 million 10,000 or something like that. I think it's right here, so, yeah, it's right here, so,
A lot of the vehicles are,
so right now there's 701,000, so we'll be expecting 353,944, which puts us over a million, and then we're supposed to be getting some more. So,
okay.
You might wanna change it to remaining.
what did I say? Oh,
I wasn't gonna say it out loud.
We're gonna do very well by our OPEB this year. We're gonna take from 220 to 250. So, Roger, can you go back to the debt and the operating? I just wanna cross check from last year's. I have you have the exact right number for last year's.
yeah, I took that off of the,
Warrant.
and that's what
Do
it
you
is.
agree with everything, Mickey?
I guess I'll add up the interest when I get home, because I don't have those numbers done.
Well, let's keep in mind that we might wanna put some money towards the medical rescue vehicle.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
And keep in mind that that's gonna be a lot more possible if we drop the fire turnout gear in particular,
Yeah, for sure.
or half it, or cut it down in any way. Moving on
I'm
down,
gonna take these holds off, agree?
I think so, I mean, those are minimum
Do we
payments.
wanna wait till the, finance committee says,
We can, but
But I would still take the hold off if we do talk.
it's just those are all the minimum
I mean,
payments.
we were just waiting for the figures and now we have them, so. Why do we still have holds on health insurance?
We had a conversation about that. I think there's a conversation about what we're gonna use for, dollars. We need to have a conversation of lowering that a bit. We lowered it to talk about, changing some of the,
Well, we did.
what were the assumptions?
Right,
No, we
but I thought
actually.
we finalized that.
So my thought behind health insurance was our buffer keep plan could be, what is our buffer plan now?
one
One
family.
family, I
Or-
think,
well,
right?
Yeah, it's one family.
Could we make our buffer plan a 2-person plan?
That seems so dangerous. Because all you need is one person going up to, I mean, I guess if somebody already had a 2% who went up to family.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take that whole thing up.
Also-
I just feel like,
Yeah, I mean, but in general, if you look at our workforce, not to generalize, it's not a lot of young families that are gonna go from, or people that are getting married and having families and having kids, and it's in general.
So, another thing, to think about, another thing I think to think about specific to the, relative to the fire department is that maybe we could do like a two-family and a two-person, or do like, add two families and then a two-person, and then make the buffer a two-person, because if we have to take some of the money from the buffer to cover the two-person and a family,
Right.
then we've got that in there.
I know that, so.
What's the difference between a two and a family?
Well, the price is about $900 and change
A month?
a month.
End up having that. He has a partner.
Yeah.
What their status is beyond that.
Yeah, no, I don't,
It says we,
I don't
so-
fully know, I just think it's kind of exceptional, I mean, if you look around,
Fair.
that
Your point's well.
I was running the numbers with Roger the other day,
Okay.
and it's riskier.
And
It's riskier, but I think it's a risk that we could take to make the third fire position, two-person plan and buffer two-person plan.
right.
And in the event you hire someone for that position that needs a family, you've got it covered. You could have an individual become a two-person or a two-person become a family, but I don't think we have a lot of two-person plans that are gonna
Okay.
become family plans.
No, I see your.
I mean, it's just, if you look at right now, we're basically planning worst case scenario.
I know.
We're planning the third person hired for fire is a family plan, and one of our people who's not on insurance at all might pick up a family plan.
Right.
And we have, right now, if you look at our numbers, it's already 6 families. I mean, there's as many families as there are individuals in two
Right.
persons, so it's already family heavy. It's not like we have a bunch of two-person plans just on the brink of becoming a family plan any day.
How many people aren't currently taking?
Part two.
Two, which, it's
Seamus and Johnny.
Yeah, Mickey.
On the, so on the fire department, we've got 3 people gonna be in the fire department plus 2 people for the weekend.
the per diem, so they don't get health insurance.
But suppose you have one person who will take the job for both shifts, you don't get,
We're not offering that.
you're not offering it that way. Okay, so that eliminates it.
So
Concerned about that.
that's a thought on health insurance.
I mean,
It's just a
it doesn't
thought.
seem unreasonable. What would it save us?
It's only been a couple of years too that we've been dealing with this, because up until recently, I think when I joined the board, every eligible person was taking health insurance, and it's very simple.
Right.
And then we started adding positions, and some people weren't taking health insurance. So you have to have some kind of a buffer in case they join. There is, another thought is that if you have turnover mid-year and a person who was not taking health insurance or was on a one-person plan gets hired and now someone on a family plan,
Right.
is there, I mean, that can always happen, but it's a benefit that we're offering, so we're gonna fund it at the end of the day.
Well, the question is where we get the money to fund it.
Yeah.
Right? So if we haven't raised and appropriated the money to fund it, and it's an unfunded liability, then you're left holding back, and you're gonna find the money somewhere.
So,
Yeah, they have to October 1st to be when did you do free cash? You find out the number.
well, but the thing is, the earlier in the year it happens, we had November town meeting, et cetera. The later in the year it happens, the less of an impact it has on the budget. So a family plan that's only 3 months.
Okay, that's fair.
So I think that's one thing that's always been in the back of my mind. It's not like someone's gonna hit us on July 1 with, okay, now we're a family plan, there's nothing you can do about it all year. I don't know, we have
So
to,
what would the savings be if we took both of those from, family to two-person?
It's
About
So if it's
$1,000.
so just remember, so 233, so if I change that, change that. And the family plan, what was the annual? I gotta go. So, it was 33, so it's about what, $12,000.
doing both of those.
So that changed the family plan down to 6, the 2-person to 3, and then the buffer's now, I'm sorry, the buffer is a 2-person.
Wait, I'm confused. What rate is the rate per month going up?
That's what the increase was, so that's a monthly rate.
Okay, what's
Can you
the
just
charge?
write monthly rate, Roger, so that we don't have to? So that's the monthly rate for
That's the
head count.
charge for that number of head counts,
Yes.
okay. Then the percentage, and then you multiply by 12. Got it, all right.
So it saves a little bit.
I mean, it's not a huge amount, but it's over 10K.
Yeah, what was it? Was it 233?
Mhm.
What was 233? Oh,
But they have the total
yeah.
budget with all that was 233, so, you know, it's
About 50.
15,000.
I mean, that's not much.
I think it's I think it's more risk, even what we're doing was risky. The only way to eliminate any risk is budget for all family plans.
Plans, yeah.
And the most risky you could do is budget for exactly who you have on. The most risky thing that you could do that wouldn't be not obviously completely stupid is just budget for who you have on and budget an individual plan for the oncoming. So we gotta be somewhere in between, and I feel like this is reasonable.
I think it is reasonable.
So should we tell?
Yeah.
Alright, moving on down to warrant, I just do wanna wrap up.
Yeah.
Before they get here, because,
Oh, I did send out an email. I got all the finals for the school.
Okay.
And I put it in.
Did anything change?
Slightly, I think it went up about $5,000 from where we had it.
if the turnout here, usually talking about doing some stabilization, pending finance committee approval. OTAB, cultural council. So bills in the prior year. So at the end of last fiscal year, we noticed that some elected officials were underpaid, so we made an effort to get everyone covered. Unfortunately, I don't know how this happened, but the funds weren't encumbered. So when we were like, oh, we're $4,000 short on paying various select board members, here's, person X needs 2,000, person Y needs 2,000. In all universes that should have been encumbered, there's a couple people on the steps that dropped the ball. I mean, the ball got dropped.
Right.
So
So now we
we
have to fix it.
can't even, it's not like a typical prior year bill. Because it's, in a prior year bill would be if we didn't pay the person, we went back to pay them now. It was crossed on, so one thing that we can do is, as a select board, we can just stop taking stipend, or maybe we get one more month, and then we can just avoid that can of worms
By just not taking stuff.
for the rest of this year.
So
At the end of last year, I forget the exact number, it was about $4,000.
it's a total of 5,127. So it's really, it was me, I messed up. Because it was all happening, spinning around. And there was, when the fiscal year rolled around, we realized that Susan had missed out on $3,600 worth of pay. Frank, 900, and John Makeup had missed out on $400 and $227.35 on his stipends as well. So I had informed the treasurers, went into the system and put stuff in, the amount in, and made notes, but with everything that had been going on at the time, I just didn't I forgot to do the encumbered sheet and didn't send it. So,
I intentionally collected because it was pissing me off with the fixing. I was getting paid. And I'm like, yeah, like 2 cents an hour, just go to hell, I'm not taking the money.
solve that.
So just don't pay me.
So right now,
Yeah, that's it.
So right now, I can tell you right now that there's only $648 left in the Board of Selectmen stipends
For the rest of you.
for the rest of the year. So, yeah, I think that's where it's at.
That's all that.
So you're okay with that? And I guess we'll just talk to John if we need to, or. Because that's the only thing it says.
Which is how much?
$627.35.
That's Board of Health.
That's for the Board of Health and for the animal inspector.
And we tried to get people caught up at the end of the fiscal year. They shouldn't have let this happen. The other people, I mean, I know you messed up too, but they shouldn't let it happen. That we paid, they should know we're trying to catch people up at the end of a fiscal year.
Maybe send out a little notice, the end of the year is coming, make sure everything is in.
Well, we honestly went way out of our way to try to fix
Yeah.
an ongoing thing, which is, it was very simple when there was just, these are the elected people, they get paid every month before the time clock. Time clock made everything, in that regard, more complicated.
And normally, I actually have a note for myself to go in at the end of the month to make sure everybody is paid. Because I don't know, for example, Kim, on the school department, she was being elected this year. So I stopped her payments on her monthly stipend because I didn't know she was going to get reelected. So I don't usually put people up for the year, because you could do that. You just go through and just add them in for the year, but people come and go. And so I kind of just keep it. I do it manually every month.
So, yeah, it's weird. I mean, I hate to ask this question, especially since I was involved in the using of it, but are we happy with the time clock system? Is it actually helping us, or is it costing money and it was an experiment that failed and we should do away with it? Go back to handwritten sheets. That's inconceivable to me, but.
I understand what you're saying, because we oftentimes only hear the bad stuff.
Yeah.
But I do think that in its initial setup, that there may have been some misunderstandings and misinterpretations and lack of understanding how things work when you're talking to a programmer. And I have had some pretty good success. I would say that, right now it's like 95% operational. It's just every so often we have some quirky things which I've figured out how to fix, and I go in and I fix it.
I think
So
I'm right there with you, Susan, but I think we're actually at a point now, if this was a year ago or two,
Right.
yeah, I'd probably be like, this was a failed experiment. But I think we're basically there. The elected stipends, we still don't have a good system for. Because you can't ask the school committee member to remember a login and this and that to put in their $100 a month or whatever. Like it's,
But if you're elected once a year at the main thing, maybe just redo it for the year.
I could do it, and that's what I was thinking of doing, was just doing it between elections, and just doing it from election to election. But at least for that, because you'd have to change it as of the fiscal year, because it usually goes up.
Right. And right, you could do it through the end of the fiscal year and then start again. If somebody resigns, can you go back and change that? Because it hasn't actually been.
Yep, I have to go back through and just delete it.
Yeah. So that seems like one way to go with the stipends anyway.
a couple more articles.
I do have one question though. If we're putting the fire department into the budget,
Does that need to be in there?
yes.
That's a good question that we should ask Donna.
Okay.
I wondered the same thing. It seems
Repetitive. We've already, by the time we get to this, we'll already have either approved or not approved that, and there's the 2.5. So at some point, it seems ridiculous to have all three.
I think
It's an article that says to see if the town will raise an appropriate or or transfer from available funds, money to fund full-time positions in the fire department for fiscal year 2026, contingent upon passage of Prop 2.5 ballot question or taking the other action. But it will already have been in the budget.
Oh, the 2.5% isn't in the budget, is it?
No, but that's a separate question. That's an
That's
article. Right. So it's repetitive.
Yeah.
I think that would be
Doesn't
fine
confuse us.
if you were doing $100,000 to buy the school and that was a special article and,
Right.
yeah, that's a good call out. Two final things, three final things. We're gonna transfer some money from the highway pickup truck article to the historic district study consultant. That was money that really was ARPA money from the highway pickup truck.
Okay.
It was really ARPA money that we used to
Right.
buy the pickup truck.
Right.
Need to figure out the exact amount. I've been in touch with Rob Hooves. And then the community center pavilion match.
Which is where.
It's Article XX.
Under bills of the prior year.
Yes, yeah. So I think that the CDBG unrestricted income might be higher. The pickup truck article, we might have $20,000 more in. What's listed there is $30,000 short of the match.
Okay.
And I think we might have 20,000 in the pickup truck article. We're just not 100% sure. Basically, when we allocated $95,000 for that truck, the quote came in a little bit lower, and then that wasn't including the $20,000 trade-in.
Oh.
So we really ended up spending a lot less on it.
That's great.
So
Can't complain.
we might have money there, and I used to be of the understanding that we had two unrestricted CDBG checks amounting to about 65.
Somewhere, yeah, somewhere.
And now they're telling us that one of those checks is restricted, but I'm not sure.
So I called Cassie, I left a message.
By checks, you mean,
Dollars.
So when a house gets sold and they have a remaining
we get a check.
lien, we get a check.
Alright.
And that check is either restricted or unrestricted. And we have a restricted balance, but they're saying that that's a single check from a
Right.
single house.
Gotcha.
There was another check that was about $30,000 that I think they used to tell us was unrestricted, and then at some point they're saying it's restricted, and we just need to get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
All that being said, hopefully between these last two things, we can cover the balance for the community center match. If not, we might need like 10,000 in free cash. And then, where are we at with the police officer extension?
Police officer extension.
Yeah, are we still doing that?
That we have to, for.
John Brown.
Oh.
Passed the age of 65.
Yeah, so I did check, I double checked with Donna and, Donna Brewer, the town council, and retirement, and that position is covered by that, so we could move forward with that article. Cause there was a concern that it only covered police chief officers. With the theory that, if you're going to extend your time from over 65, you wouldn't be out running in the streets. You'd be on office, you'd be on desk duty. But I checked with Donna and I checked with Berkshire County Retirement, and they said that the regular patrol officer is covered by that. So we would just move forward with warrant language that she.
So Donna will draft that.
Well, she drafted one already.
Okay.
Yeah, so she had something drafted. I just have to add Berkshire County Retirement to it. Okay. So that's it.
So, I mean, I think the one under Jen should probably read it, just adoption of GLC 48, section 42A.
What did I say? Yeah, I was just gonna have Donna draft that.
Which is fine. Yeah, I mean, it's literally the language exists.
Yeah.
We just adopt that, and that's the language we use. And basically, the two options are the strong fire chief or the not strong fire chief.
And this is the
Not strong. Basically, we retain more control. He's not firefighter.
Beyond that,
And there's the ADU.
the ADU and the remove Fox Hill Road property for solar zoning.
Right.
And then the typical, that is an updated list of 10, that's one thing I did get to.
Good job.
And that's it.
Hello.
Everybody?
What's new to your head?
Maple syrup?
I got caught in it.
Oh, and your hand too?
Oh my goodness. Ow. Farming stuff is dangerous.
I know, right? Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
It's that simple. Now we gotta get the finance committee to agree.
Someone's nagging me to do it.
There's some things that could be on here that aren't ready. Like Adam and the fiber connect
Oh, right.
easement on Silver Road, that they have trouble getting surveyed.
Yeah.
But it's not here, and that's why
Okay.
the equipment's already in. I think it's a housekeeping business.
All right.
Go get the check,
Good check.
Woodchuck.
the donation.
Yeah.
I thought we were going at 5:30.
Funny though, I have a note that when I was doing the minutes, come out and just wash out. And oh, this Thursday, so we don't know yet. I'm sure that will make everything.
Should we send Mickey or something?
Yeah, right.
Alright, so, quick, donation to the police department. Anyone wanna move that we accept it?
I'll move that we accept the fire department, wait, the police department donation.
It's $1,000 from the town of Monterey, from Ronald K. Rubin Charitable Fund.
Alright, we'll vote on the motion to accept the donation.
Yeah.
And yes. Thank you very much for the generous donation. So,
What'd you do? Tap too many drinks?
I'm just gonna take a minute to reset and we're gonna explain to the finance committee our proposals.
Finance committee, I am leaving at 6:30.
Well, we still have two.
Okay, now it's 6:30. You got two brains here.
Well, maybe one. I'll be there 3/4. It's time tonight.
Hello. So, the finance committee,
I just got their calls over and I'm leaving at 6:30.
so before 6:30, we wanna run a couple of things by you. First and foremost, we have a bit more clarity on the debt. So Roger's gonna pull up our minimum payments, which are in the operating budget first. We can just walk you through them. So the library principal payment stays the same year over year, because it's 1/18 of the original borrow. It's 70,950. The interest is dictated by the borrowing that we for the year. Could you just slide to the left a quarter inch? Thank you. Or more? Yeah, or more. And then the principal payment on the tandem axle is 1/8 of the 200,000, so that's 25,000, same as last year. The interest is down as well. The principal principal payment on the highway truck. This is the first year that we have a required payment on the truck. And it's 1/8 because it has a useful life of 10 years as determined by the select board. So you take the number of useful year life and minus 2, and we have to pay that off each year. So 1/8 of the $160,000 that we borrowed is 20,000. And the interest payment is dictated by the borrowing. The principal payment on the rescue vehicle, we started the borrowing just over a year ago in March of 2024. There's still no principal payment required. So our minimum payment is 0. Our interest payment is 6,000. If we go over to free cash stabilization debt, we didn't have any room with the amount of free cash that we had available to make any additional payments, which was, we thought, problematic because we like to pay things off more than required. So what we're proposing is to pay for the police cruiser out of stabilization.
And how much is the stabilization again?
The current balance is $689,000, and paying for the cruiser out of stabilization
Right,
brings down to $618,000. So that actually frees up some amount of free cash. And if we go back up, Roger, that would keep our highway truck, the F-550 payments consistent year over year at $29,000. And we would pay that off with 2 more of those payments.
I have an unorthodox question.
It's the highway truck will have 60,000 on it basically after a payment of just under 30. So 2 more years would pay that F-550. It's actually an international truck off. The tandem axle, if we kept that amount year over year, 1 more year would pay that tandem axle truck off. And the library loan, that number is consistent year over year. That's to reach a total principal payment of $100,000, which is a long-standing agreement, in part because Friends of the Library has made significant contributions towards the principal in the library.
And it would leave about $500,000.
It would leave
Actually, slightly under.
$470.
You're right.
So if I'm reading this
And
right,
then one more thing, and then we can talk. So one thing that we'd like to do, but we don't currently have any money for, is to make a principal payment on the medical rescue vehicle. It would be entirely up to us. There is no required principal payment, but we would like to, if possible, make a principal payment. With the police cruiser being paid out of stabilization and the debt payments as listed above, a little bit more down, Roger. We have $41,144 left in free cash.
Wait, did we end up reducing the FY24 bills because,
I haven't done that yet.
okay.
and what's our budget now at 2,600,001? About 6,000,001? Roger, what's the total budget at? About 6,000,001?
Give me 1 second.
Let's just say, I could be a little inaccurate.
It is not 6,1.
Okay, so here's,
Well, we have another proposal that leads into that I want to explain to you.
okay, so do that.
We're still appropriating additional stabilization money.
Out of the operating budget?
I mean, are we putting money into
I thought
stabilization?
we had some, yeah.
No.
We're not.
I thought,
When was the last time we put it on?
Since I've been on the board, which is 4 years, we've put in some special articles that were very outdated, that we never had used the money, such as money was set aside for the highway garage siding for, I think it was 7 or 8 years. We put money like that into general stabilization. We've never raised and appropriated or put free cash into it. But
so let's get.
we haven't spent much of it.
I thought the year we put a whole bunch of money towards to reduce the tax liability also.
We might have.
I thought we did that year.
It's basically stayed very consistent. We put a little bit in, we taken a little bit out. It's in the last 4 years, it stayed right around in the 600,000s.
I'm sorry, and what would the payment be for
The fire brush.
yeah,
We haven't come up with it.
we
We're
range.
We were talking about that. We're talking about something to put a dent in it because,
I don't know. I'm sure you do.
so, here, are there any questions about our proposal to pay for the police cruiser out of stabilization? And not that you need to agree to it at this moment, but any questions about that and then these additional debt payments?
No, because I haven't looked at the long term, I mean, this is our long term expenses. So like that is what stabilization is for, we haven't identified other really long range projects other than the culvert, which has funding somewhere, and then, you know, obviously the operating budget. But just let me give you perspective that I have on this. So about 259,000, is that what we're talking about in principal payments? Right, 259?
Well, that's all of the,
Yeah, all the debt service, divided by the budget.
that's
Yeah.
not the debt service, that's actually just all the special articles.
Oh, I'm sorry, so what's just the debt service, even better?
It's in two places, so it's an additional principal there, and then it's in the operating budget.
So how much is it about?
Well, this is about.
Payments and principal for long term. I thought it was that 259 number, so I'll give you the math, but we can do the same math.
Okay, the debt service on the regular budget, Roger, is 150, well, I'm rounding, 157, 156,672.02.
Okay, even better,
156.
and that's the whole amount,
No, that's the debt service on the regular.
without principal,
How much was it? What'd you come up
156,672.02.
without.
with? About $203,000.
Okay, I estimated 259 on the 6114 budget, that's about 4%. 6,000,000, that is about 4% of our budget, which is still an incredibly low percentage for our, I think, for our long-term spending. I want to give you that perspective.
You said on chapter 90, we can use them to buy trucks. Do we take what's in the chapter 90 and apply it to what we have on the international?
I don't think so, we can ask, but when we bought the international, you were not allowed to buy small plow trucks with chapter 90. There was a weight limit, and it was above the weight of an F-550 with a plow.
Well, could we apply to the?
I'll ask the Mass DOT rep.
The dump truck, in hindsight, could have been bought entirely with chapter 90. But,
Nice.
Well, because if we don't, you know, we know that we're gonna get 300,000, Roger before he got here said we're gonna get additional money. So we could be above $1 million in, chapter 90.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I was saying if we could apply to the, they changed some of the rules which we needed the money for.
But that's still amazing, because any of our big projects probably will be chapter 90 moving forward, chapter 90 will, so that's a good.
But I mean, just keep in mind that one project under $10,000. That goes quick.
can we talk through one other proposal that we have, Eileen? So, health insurance. We already decided which plan we're going with, the papers are signed, and that's finalized. The question is, how much of a buffer do we want? How risk averse do we want to be? The way that, the last time we looked at the budget, the third firefighter, so we're hiring 2 fire chiefs, and we know that, you know, there'll be no family plans, right? The third firefighter was put in as a family plan, and our buffer was put in as a family plan. So the buffer covers anyone upgrading from a less expensive plan to a more expensive plan. And it also covers any position that's not currently taking a plan and then taking a plan because of turnover or because of open enrollment. So the buffer was also a family plan.
2 families,
So it was one family.
15,000.
Buffer was one, and then
So
Oh, the budget.
firefighter was one.
our proposal is to be a little bit more risky and make the third firefighter a 2-person plan and make the buffer a 2-person plan. So it's riskier, but if we don't budget every plan as a family plan for the whole year, we're always taking some level of risk.
Yeah, so before we make that decision, I think we should brainstorm any other way, and I said, I have something on orthodox, what is an reserve fund. I understand we'll roll over into free cash next year if we don't spend it, but I'm just saying, is there a way, since we've been so prudent with how we budgeted and did so good, is there any rule under which we can use that money for something like this that would,
I'm a little bit lost.
I would suggest that we apply, like,
like the 20,000?
we apply leftover reserve fund.
Right. Has to be unanticipated, that's the rule.
Yeah, but I think we'd have to just make the payment. We'd have to make the payment this fiscal year.
Right, of course, but I'm saying it's an option, it's an unanticipated,
Just make it.
like we're having,
But
Are you talking about doing less with the state?
I'm talking about in general,
So
is there any way,
Just to keep on track, does anyone have any questions about that?
but they're all I do. Health insurance. I don't think I changed both, because I think that what you're saying is it's 30,000 or 31,000 now you have as a buffer, and you wanna move it down to what number? 10,
More like
16,000.
16,000.
so you wanna cut that in half?
No, that's not in half. It's not in half. A family to a two-person. Are you talking about we need to clarify here, right? We have a buffer, and then we have a plan that we're setting aside for a prospective third firefighter.
And both of those are $15,000.
No, the total.
Yes.
Yes, the one
$15,000.
above is 15, so that's $30,000.
That we have proposed, but before it was probably closer to 40.
Right, I understand, but I'm just saying, the buffer now, the two places it exists, is 30 grand. And you're proposing to take that down to what?
No, sorry, we already made the changes in the spreadsheet. We can change them back depending on our discussion.
Right.
But we're not proposing anything 30,000 down. 30,000 is what we're at now. We already took it down.
Okay, so, but my question is, what's the individual plan versus family?
An individual or a two-person?
Whatever the difference is.
So, I mean, there's an individual, and there's a two-person,
Okay, so
and
what's
there's a
the
family, there's 3 plans. Yep. And the two-person is 15,890, that's what our cost is.
Okay, right, yeah, of course.
And $99.77, that's what a two-person is.
Right, what's the individual?
Hold on, let me just, make a quick little math thing here.
I understand you already changed this.
It is $7,571.
7,571.
If we had 2% or 1% is about 1,000.
Is that, right, okay, so it's,
For
so,
the year.
so basically, I'm sorry, you've made the third person you're staffing at individual, and
No,
you,
there's a two-person.
two person, which is 15, and you've made the buffer at 15. Right.
Yes. So for example, if somebody started out a two-person and they wanted to become a family, it's only like a $9,000 up to go from a two-person to a family. That $9,000 in that buffer, because the buffer
So a
is
family
$15,000. A family is like 23.
that's the number I was missing. Okay, then that would make sense. I just want to make sure.
I understand the definition of buffer, it's the way of.
It's the excess, it's an excess dollar values
In
in that line item to cover any increases in plans.
Any
So
possible
for
increase, so you don't
example,
have to go back.
So right now, so if you look up here, the actual dollar value for the insurance is $200,312. But if all of a sudden an individual or a two-person wants to become a family, we have to scramble for $9,000. And so that $15,899 is just extra money. That's what we call it a buffer. It's just the extra.
Contingency.
It's a contingency.
Contingency, better word.
Yeah, it's a better word.
Contingency budget, yeah.
We'll actually-
Yeah, I think that's smart thinking, that it's not enough, and if that happens twice, that's after verified right there, blah, 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 blah. So I think that makes sense the way you've done it now.
I think it's a slightly more risky, but I think it's a risk that I'm willing to take.
Well, it's a risk that we can manage within our current framework.
And
if
it
we
doesn't
can
seem,
verify.
yeah, and I think the chances of exceeding that.
And I think the job description says single people in charge.
So what was your other thing?
Me.
No, mine was really, that's good, I thought, I was gonna suggest that, but you already did that when you explained. So, Steve, I would ask the question about, is there any way you use the reserve fund this year that's legal, for an anticipated resource Yeah, last year, how much did we spend?
I'd have to go look, but
I
pretty much
think
spent
we
all of it.
spent-
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, right,
If
even at the end of the year,
In June,
even 10,000.
even if
That's exactly what's.
Yeah, but
I
the whole thing is, I'm not in favor of paying down debt. I really not arbitrarily, because it's cheap. And it's easy, and we can plan for it. The problem, debt is really good. I mean, I know we think, oh, nobody wants to pay debt. Well, you know when it's coming, you know when it's due, it's easy to plan. Health insurance is not so easy to plan, but debt is. So, it's not such a bad thing.
And you're right, and given that original number that I said, 4% for the entire, it's really a very low percentage.
And right now, we're looking probably at a fairly low interest rate curve because the economy is tanking and the Fed's gonna reduce its rates.
We're locked in for a year, it's still there.
That's my prognostication.
You changed my thinking, Steve, that's good.
You have a block.
Just to follow up.
That is good.
Steve, do you think that we're being too aggressive in our proposals of debt pay down?
No?
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm not opposed to.
He said, buy more
Aggressively
than
paying it
that.
down.
Yeah.
I'm not going overboard, we're in debt, we should.
Like, I'm trying to pay down, I like paying down debt.
There's nothing wrong with that, but it's really, it's a mindset.
It's a control.
It's a New England
Scarcity
mindset, we
mindset.
never should owe money, but the fact of the matter is, it's cheap. It's cheap, and it gives you predictability. That's a big thing. In our budget, there's too much that's not predictable. And the same with that, we know what's gonna happen when it's gonna happen.
Amen.
Well, and in this case, we know that we have a
Yeah,
big
cool.
additional debt in the form of the fire truck coming up.
Right,
So
that's,
trying
I
to
understood
pay
that
off
process.
yeah.
Now, I understand that
Just clarify.
strategy of paying some of the smaller amounts off to get ready for the bigger amount. That makes sense.
All right. What was next?
Well, I think Eileen can be prioritized because she has to leave.
no,
Anything else that you need done?
my unorthodox idea. No, I think, once again, we appreciate your work, because we always say, we'll help you think it through, and I think you're offering two really, based on what Steve just said, which I think makes a lot of sense, and based on the way that we've been looking at balancing the budget. I think it makes a lot of sense. Anybody else? Jeff?
I think we're.
Yeah, I think it's two good solutions. Just remember to put Steve over the job.
So,
Did we ever
We're
get?
getting married after the.
Single or wife with health insurance.
I think that you have some good ideas of what we need to tackle. So we can start top down, or we can also just start,
Big ticket for it.
we wanna start top down, alright, let's just start top down. So, town administrator wages, the select board decided after the finance committee left last week to bring that up in line with the police chief salary.
Good choice. Glad you had that conversation.
Any questions?
Object, Roger?
No.
Yeah, that's where we wanted to go.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, so that's where we moved.
Okay, then we can take the hold off of that. Moving on now. Treasurer services, I haven't talked to Sarah. Okay.
I do have, on the human resources and consulting, I know we dropped it down to 5,000. Just this past, I was looking at, we have a couple of invoices. We have one invoice for $2,885. We have another one for $2,270 that needs to be paid, which includes a bunch of work on the personnel stuff. So that's like $5,155. It's not a problem this year because there's 11,000 in there. But I know we reduced it because we were like, hey, what are we using it for? But now
They're very delayed in their invoicing.
and they are delayed in their invoicing. This invoicing came, I have to call them up about an issue.
Do we anticipate we'll work on the personnel manual? Because
It's almost not in the next fiscal
Because the
year.
way I see it is, one of the things that we worked on was the town administrator handling a lot more HR, which wasn't possible prior. So that should reduce the expense, and it's another good reason for why you want to increase.
So,
Because the time dealing with HR issues is really in the line.
so the idea is to keep it at 5,000,
I think so.
5,500.
If you think the personnel manual is done,
I think so.
I think it will be by the
that, I don't know why I have that there, so I can't.
You're gonna check.
We don't need to check.
Yeah, I think
Depending
it's
on how many pages it is, it's more or less, and that changes, and that's like, but why are all those highlighted on the left? Can we remove that?
Yes, yeah, just need making note to just look at those. Yep. Same thing here. Oh, that was the town report expenses, so that's gonna be the same thing too, I think it's.
Yeah, we don't need to
No
reinvent.
inflator? Yeah.
Am I going too fast? Or we
No,
can scroll down?
Doing good.
Fire department compensation, that's where it's been at for a while, right?
Mhm. I believe so.
Yes, that looks.
I'm just gonna keep the pick on it just so I can find the answer.
Yeah.
So take the hold off on that. Yes?
I don't see why not.
Okay. Oh, I got these are the final numbers for, schools. I actually forwarded those to you. I forwarded them to all of you
It's
today.
crazy, that's very.
I went through, yeah, well, it's more like,
I think
it was like 30 emails, 100 and some odd emails ago. So on that paper the document that I sent you, the last page is where I break all that, the assessment is broken down. And their actual operating budget was 1 million for us, assessment for us was $1,880,808. Transportation budget was $116,275.
we should put a lottery for those eights.
Then they have their capital and then their loan and interest on their bonds also is up
So
here.
basically, they're giving us roughly a 4% increase. Roughly.
Yeah, which is.
Well,
Even their
well,
supply
they have a new
chain.
contract too.
Right, a new contract and their supply chain cost, take it around.
Did we ever get to the bottom of the capital and why that was fluctuating?
I did not.
Is it in the sheet? I'm looking at the sheet. Right now.
I have, it takes me forever to go through how they have it broken down.
Capital, non-bonds, capital bonds. So that's our capital, bonds.
So that's what this one is right here. And then the capital bond is this one.
So in a sense, they're changing for all towns.
Because our budget has increased, they've gone down to like 30% of our budget. 30%.
Not bad, we should just keep going.
Yeah. Keep increasing. This is a little scary, Roger, but I actually have a different number for the fire department compensation than the one you've got in there.
Okay. What do you have?
I've got 651, 850.
Did this come off that one, that come off that, spreadsheet budget? Oh. I don't remember what
I don't know
changed.
what changed. So, we might need to, do we wanna change it now, or do we wanna just discuss it out of the meeting and then
We
see?
can change it now just to show what it looks like. If you
Yeah,
want.
651, 850 is the number that my spreadsheet showed.
Cause I'm not taking this from anything other than
Right,
just writing it in.
Right, exactly.
Right, so,
I don't know where.
maybe we should talk it through. I mean, I probably should know. It's my brain is fried on that. I probably will, once we're not in the meeting, I'll go back to eating dinner.
So moving on down back to school,
Yeah.
we can take a hold off, right? There's no hold.
Answer?
Okay. So,
I think the director of operations is fine to do COLA, right, Frank? We don't need to keep a hold on director of operations.
my only concern is that given recent emails, I'm wondering if we're gonna be hiring.
Yeah, I.
Well, we can't really.
We can't really
So,
discuss it.
yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that's just COLA.
Yeah.
So we can remove the hold. Moving on down, transfer station.
I put a transfer station budget there.
So is it actually up to date now? Yep.
And we haven't set a, did we set a sticker fee?
It's, still $120 as far as I know.
You never had,
Meeting.
what?
We never had a meeting.
We haven't had, and it was 120 last year.
Yep, it's been, it was 120 last year.
Right, because we couldn't make change for $5.
We've already printed out the fees.
Yeah.
that go with the stickers.
You know, that's sort of-
Yeah, cause we have that document, that flyer that you created.
was just, there have been some price increases for like things with, Freon and some stuff. So what we may need to do is get together to discuss if we want to raise those and post them.
There's also, I had a conversation with, somebody from, Freddie from Lombardo, who's interested, he's, Freddie Friedman, their, waste management person.
And Susan's been driving us crazy, Susan Wait.
He's interested in having a conversation with the four towns, seeing if there's any way, us, Otis, Sandusville, and Marlboro, to see if there's any way to figure out how to make things a little less expensive. Because we all do sort of the same things, but a little different, so we make it the same.
This is a modern
It
problem.
takes some, it takes advantage of like logistics, because they can all come at the same day and they make it cheaper.
Yeah.
Like mattresses.
Right, but the idea is that we'll keep the sticker price the same, we will change the fees paid for individual items as per the price increase. And that's not a budget issue, it just shows up on the revenue side. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Yeah, we'll keep the sticker price the same and just change the variable costs according to what they are.
I mean, I don't think changing, we're never gonna get a price break on mattresses if we're sending an entire container, because then coming the same day as the container.
Well, I think,
Take it out in the hallway.
I think it's more that, we have a different way of collecting mattresses, for example, than they do in New Marlboro. And they're looking to actually do something similar to us. And at one point, I think they weren't collecting mattresses.
We used to take
so they were sending them
mattresses
out.
from out of town.
There was something else to that.
That was a mess.
So they're trying to figure out, is there a way that maybe we could all get on the same company and they come all at the same time and pick them up and
If I were you, I'd also might invite Susan Wait to that meeting. She has a lot of knowledge about what other towns are doing and other programs. Right.
Yeah, we have a new budget.
Yeah.
They only got 3
Um,
So group purchasing regional.
I just dropped that down to, I dropped it, it was at $2,500, I dropped it to $250. I got in contact with, the Franklin Regional Council of Governments, which we didn't purchase anything from them last year. Basically, the way that it works is when you do procurement through them, that's when they charge you. So we didn't buy anything last year.
what would we buy for them?
A highway, so I think Jim had bought gravel and things from them. So the things of, through the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission's group purchasing program, we've been buying more stuff through them. We haven't really bought anything from Franklin Regional Council of Governments, which in FY '24, it was almost, $2,000 or something like that, I think is what it was.
Or do we want to take it down less if Berkshire Regional Planning is purchasing at the same item?
My only concern is if we actually decide to use it.
It's the type of thing where we might buy tens of thousands of dollars or something for them at a cheaper price.
Well, I understand, but if Berkshire Regional Planning is the same stuff, and we can use it. Just leave it.
It's $250.
Oh, I thought it was 1,700, they requested, change, it is 17, it's not 250. That's close, but that's a shit.
Moving on down,
Go.
veterans assessment, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
There's really not much we can do about this.
So what happened with Parks?
Parks, I'm sorry, is outstanding, and, you don't need to have that purple, the Lake Garfield, but I will,
That's actually I would like our, go ahead.
I will clarify.
And community center wages, I did go back through and do the math on that. That is, I have to talk to them, but that is $22 at,
15 hours?
I think I added an hour to it. Didn't we add an hour to it?
No, we didn't.
I didn't
It's 12
add
hours.
Just a 12 hours.
Okay, good.
I have to go back and look. It was $22. It's not 15 hours. I think I did 12 hours. I'll go back and look at it.
So it's 12 hours, $22 an hour, 13,780.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to leave, same bat time, same bat channel next week?
Not me.
Oh, see, I leave you to do it. Monday class.
Susan, George.
And then that one.
I haven't finalized my team.
I saw Tom today, but I forgot to ask him about it.
Yeah, I'll work on it. And Memorial Day, you can take the little yellow thing off. Moving on down, principal
Why
payment.
do we still have a green thing on Lake
I need to talk to Mike.
Garfield?
If anything, it might come down further.
How about?
I'm not promising that,
Yeah,
but
I-
it's a special article last year, or did you put? It's a special article, recently as last year. This is the first time we'll be in the
First time it's coming in.
And with parks, we gotta mow the Lombardo property. And also I just need to talk to Tom Mency. And, I haven't done that. I don't think either of those numbers are gonna change drastically, not upwards, but.
Well, the only one.
The lawn might go up a few thousand. So Scott, we got a price from Scott, we got a price from Rick Milkey, and we're getting a price from Gary O'Brien.
Yep.
The per mowing price is not bad, it's the spring and fall cleanups that are not easy. So we're gonna see what Gary offers.
Okay.
Moving on down,
Health insurance, that's there because of our conversation that we.
But I think we
agreed on it.
finalized that, yeah. Why is retiree health and life insurance?
It's not, you can look at that. That's actually in the budget this time.
yes, that's our first time putting retiree health and life insurance in the budget, and that was a special article.
Okay. Great.
This fiscal year.
And the Medicare and bonds and insurance?
I'm still finalizing up on that. I have to call a couple companies. There's a couple companies that I follow up on. I have it from Maya. I still have to talk to Chubb, Renaissance and Hanover. But the 120,000, we spent 119 on it, so that's for this year. So I'm sure we'll go up.
What about,
Medicare was.
but this year we spent
It's
100.
1.65, but they're close out.
Okay, I'll talk to the treasurer. I'll meet with her on Thursday.
Life insurance and unemployment insurance, those don't need to be warranted.
No.
So the whole budget's going up by like 12.6% or something, right?
12.6%, very good.
What about workers' comp? Is that gonna go up with the full-time fire department?
Well, I'm trying to remember what things.
But you already,
That's part of
should
the.
already be covering them. And the percentage.
You're already covering
Oh,
fire.
we're already, because I wonder if it changes to full time.
I know,
It's not supposed to even
I
go with
thought you had a
volunteers.
conversation on
I had a couple conversations with the person from Workman's Comp. I just can't remember now off the top of my head. But I'll find out again. I'll come back with that.
Mickey,
I just know that the number for firemen and driving the fire truck is $2.81 per hundred. I don't know if that means it's all of their salary or just when they're out fighting a fire and driving the truck.
I don't understand what you're saying that number is.
The rate that you pay on workman's comp for a fireman. Now, if remember I kept
2%
saying,
of your payroll?
I remember I kept saying you can't pass them off as clerical. Clerical is 4 cents per hundred. Firemen
Of payroll, per hundred of what?
per hundred of their payroll, but I don't know if it's their entire payroll or just when they're, not when they're sleeping and cooking.
I see.
Probably their entire payroll.
That part I don't know, I just find out the dollar amount. But it's quite a bit more than a
Than a clerk.
clerk. And they won't pass this course.
Farmers are even worse. Those farmers are always
I
in the
know.
hospital for something. Driving up our medical expenses. This is why you're running for finance committee? Me too.
I'm gonna love my.
maybe we should talk a little bit more about special articles. I wanna get the finance committee on board with that.
We began the year with an excess levy capacity of $500,000.
Yeah, $510,000, 510 cents a year.
we look at special articles. We have the debt payments coming out of free cash. We have a contribution to OPEB of $30,000 coming out of free cash. We would like that eventually to end up in the operating budget.
Could you tell me what that is?
It's other post-employment benefit trust. So we have just under $220,000 in there now. And it eventually, hopefully, the interest from that trust will pay for retirement benefits.
Like retirement insurance.
It's the recommended, it's what DOS recommends.
They have a special audit of that, they do actuarial estimate of what you should
Yeah.
fund it.
Yeah, we actually, the last audit had that on there.
We are at least 10 years out from fully funding it at this rate.
Lots of, way ahead of most of the world.
Yeah.
Most of the world pretends it doesn't exist.
That's a very rough number, but I know that even with even with our current liability and an interest on, 600,000 wouldn't even.
We had a number in there for $22,000,
That's actual benefit.
that's the actual cost. This is anticipation of future costs and building up of
That's
A trust.
like a trust.
Exactly.
So this will take the trust from 220 to 250. And yeah, the actual benefit this year was in the low 20,000.
It was, 20, so they were at, we're budgeting at 24.
We have 104,000 in change for Southern Berkshire ambulance. We have 69,000 for the police cruiser coming out of stabilization.
So green means free cash and
Yes.
red means stabilization.
We have 75,000 set for turnout gear,
Was that gonna be free cash or something?
free cash. And we have an FY 24 bill that's 627.
Should I talk to John and ask him if they?
We can talk to them, but.
These, encumbered last year.
Basically,
Encumbered.
they were supposed to have been encumbered, and instead were paid out of this fiscal year.
We have to get over this.
It basically would pay, so what was done initially was wrong.
So what happened was that we went back through to look and see who hadn't been paid their stipends. So we decided to pay their stipends at the beginning of the fiscal year. And then there was supposed to be an encumbered sheet that went to the accountant. Well, sorry, I forgot. Just got missed. So basically what we would be doing would be taking those monies and then putting them basically into the accounts to cover the accounts.
Just, I hate to put stuff like that in front of voters.
Well, here's one other idea.
It's charged in reserve.
Well, another idea is, don't one or two members of the Board of Health not take the stipend?
Yes,
So shouldn't we have no problem paying that?
I'll have to look and see what it's at.
Yeah.
That should be, well, that's, yeah, on the Board of Health. So his $1, his money's on the Board of Health. It should really cover it. I think the issue is the select board stipends and the, animal control.
The main problem was the select board, but we figured it out.
Oh, that sounds great.
I just, in case you missed it, we just said we wouldn't take it.
You just gave yourselves a pay cut.
You could have taken it out of ours. Speak for yourself.
That leaves us with $45,000 of free cash.
Just in general, I just, the warrant gets so busy and then voters.
I'm not disagreeing, we do have all the things to be, but not
That's
there.
kind of a
It's
bias
just-
I've had forever. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. We have two money articles that I want to mention to the finance committee. So, we had ARPA money. We had almost $300,000 of ARPA money. ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, federal funds. The COVID stimulus package.
And this was a federal grant.
Yes, and it was the select board, they were distributed to towns and cities throughout the state. And I think in cities, the mayor was able to use them at the mayor's discretion, and in towns, the select board had we did about 5 or 6 projects, including the playground. We bought the chief's vehicle, that's up at the fire station. We contributed to a new ambulance for Southern Berkshire Ambulance. We did a very small amount of it was spent doing a study on this land behind the ball field. And some of it was used to look at solar on the cap landfill, the closed landfill, the old landfill. I don't know if it's closed or cap. There were 2 projects that were ongoing by the time that it had to be obligated. And those 2 projects are the community center pavilion and the historic district consulting to make the center town a historic district. What we did back in December was pay for the highway pickup truck, the new pickup truck. And we did it with the understanding that we could take the money from that special article and fund the pavilion and the historic district and keep those projects funded, even though they couldn't be funded by ARPA. So it's kind of using the fungibility of money to keep those projects funded, keep the highway truck paid for, but just switching what was going where. The historic district, latest that I heard from Rob Hooves, the remainder that they need is 12,000, which is basically what they had told us. And the pavilion needs $145,000 about, of which 29,000 is going to come from lighting. A good chunk is going to come from the highway pickup truck account that was originally ARPA. And then the select board is proposing that the remainder will come from CDBG unrestricted monies that the town got through the CDBG loan program. The town didn't put any money up front, but any loans that were taken out and then the homes were sold.
I'm sorry, what is this?
Community development block grant.
So eligible homeowners,
Oh, I remember that.
yeah, were able to take out, I think it was up to $35,000 or $40,000 to do improvements on their homes.
So that actually was appropriated by the state and given to the town?
So when people sold their homes, and it wasn't even in Monterey, so one home, at least I know, was in Sanesfield, because Monterey was the administrator at that time period, they owed, especially if they sold it early, they owed a good chunk, like 90 to 95% of that back to, they owed it back. So there was like a lien on it. And the town got the money. We had never put money up front. It was kind of just like it fell from the sky.
Yeah, because the state, state didn't give the town money on cash ahead of time.
No,
It was only after it was used or needed, then the state would disperse it, so, okay. So it never went through the town books.
No.
It went straight from the state to the.
So we get checks.
But it
so-
goes back to the town.
So there was a home that was sold in Sanesfield. We've had 3 or 4 of these so far, where the remainder that they owed was $34,000. That's been given to the town, and we can spend it on anything that we want. So what we're proposing is that we use it to cover the match for the construction of the pavilion.
There was a list of the things you had suggested, and I can't figure out where it is.
The rest of the
You
thing,
had like this one from.
the town meeting warrant, the draft town
It
meeting
is,
warrant.
it's on the town meeting.
I'm just curious about that. Is this something that's being appropriated at town meeting?
It doesn't,
Already.
it doesn't, but I would like to put it on the town meeting warrant for transparency,
Okay.
because we're gonna have to move the money from the lighting. So the article will read something like, to transfer from article, 40 at the May, we have 40 articles at that town meeting, we're doing pretty good this year. To transfer $29,000 for the community center outdoor lighting from Article 40 at May town meeting in 2021 to pay for the match of the grant for the community center pavilion, but it will also mention the other 2 places that the money's coming from.
And none of that will require a raise appropriate.
None of it will be razor appropriate or free cash.
It's just moving from one place to
The
another.
county function. Yeah.
It's another one, because
The
the house
match is
twice.
twice what we were originally gonna pay for the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing was supposed to be what, like $80,000? And now our match is twice that. I'm like, that bothers me.
No,
I
that's
don't
the
know.
element that you're finding.
It's just like the project just became
So as long
unreal.
as there's no restrictions from the state.
On CDBG. So we have in addition to unrestricted funds, we have restricted funds. I was initially told that any checks that came in that were more than $35,000 were restricted. But now it seems like there's something to do with the cumulative that you receive in any given year. So we have to clarify that we have at least 3 checks in the $30,000 to $35,000 range.
I just don't want us to be in a position where we say, oops, we didn't realize something,
Yeah.
and then we get slapped,
Yeah.
dinged. And now it's like, what are we gonna do now?
Yeah.
So we should just make sure we do our,
I know,
it's not really due diligence.
I was a town accountant. We had a program, a septic system. When Title V came in, the state appropriated money for the towns to help people of lower income with a low interest loan to replace their septic. That money is still, I looked at last year's town report, it's still sitting there, because it's in 2 places, it's around 40,000. When I was a town accountant, I actually went to the state and said, can we just clean this all up? They said, yeah, they said, just take it in as income. I said that to the select board, and the person that used to be sitting here went to somebody else and found out not to do that. So the money's still sitting there. As far as the state told me, that could just go into income.
Well,
We can follow this up again, but it's just, I noticed it's still sitting in the restricted funds.
Yes, money's money.
And it was just, it was a goofy thing. At the time, the interest rate was 5.5%, and that's wonderful, right? Because interest rates were 10%. So,
So we're about 30,
and
with these
and
numbers.
it's take a little research, I think, the,
Yeah,
Adjournment
absolutely.
is sort of highway truck is really,
We can do it either from that or from the others.
or the other CDBG. Or if only one of those 2 things comes
Right.
true, which the highway truck is basically a sure thing, we just need to.
And you said it's 20 more, but that still leaves 11.
I think, I would just be on anything.
Well, 20 is max.
Yeah, but what do you say we just tell them we're just gonna get over 15?
But then it's,
Like 75, maybe 75.
but we need 12 for historic district.
Oh, historic district, that's right. Yep. That's right, you're right, yep.
it's under, special revenues. It's under septic system repairs, $42,511. It's been there since,
You gotta then finalize it.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
it's page 22.
It's actually, you know what? It's a very helpful, useful thing,
Okay.
too.
Oh, yeah.
You leave your house without the town report?
I can't sleep at night on these. I have brought it every meeting I do.
Charge for services.
Wait, no, I think I'm looking at the wrong. What was the special revenues?
System repairs,
What
42,000.
page?
22.
I've never seen.
Page 22.
That's, system repairs.
If you grab the town report from 10 years ago.
It's still there.
Well, you know what else sat for 15 years? The Concom fees.
Oh, yeah.
From the house on.
From when the guy shaved off the hillside, right? And he had to pay 30-some thousand.
My understanding is he went to the commission and got approval, and they didn't call the day of to say, we're doing the work that we got approval for.
No, he didn't.
That's my understanding,
for what?
Steve.
If you call
I
me
could be
for
wrong.
what?
So actually, the company
The
that we,
Concom.
John Fields.
yeah,
But John Fields was up the owner to get the permission. John didn't do it himself.
it's my understanding they went through the steps, and we'd have to ask Chris or someone who was there. It's my understanding they went through the steps and they didn't notify the Concom the day of the cutting.
No, I don't think they got permission to do it.
I don't know, Mike wasn't
Because
there.
that was the same time, that was when we were bringing in the, scenic mountain that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, and so
that was clear contradiction of the scenic mountain act. And that's
Yeah.
why I don't think that conservation, unless it was somebody on the commission said so without the commission voting.
Well, there's someone who lives on the commission who lives right next door, who was on the commission at the time.
Who was.
So you weren't getting away with anything. Your neighbors on the Concom.
You can't give them anything.
That's a pile of money.
The septic.
For 10 years, yeah.
If I were to do something with the septic money, depending on what you're allowed to do, I'd put it in the stabilization fund.
Well, yeah, I remember the discussion, we had a really good state guy.
But do we need it?
I don't know.
We should
Or we should.
use it for the
Once it
village.
goes into miscellaneous, it's gonna show up in free cash ultimately, because we have a lot more, revenue, that we don't really budget for. The accountant gives us a number, and they use basically about 60% of what we normally expect to see.
Which is a normal,
So,
that's the
but
normal.
that's really where one of the biggest contributors to cash is all that revenue over and above what the accountant projects. But it's scary because a lot of revenue, you don't know you're gonna get it, so you don't wanna overestimate for the tax calculation, because then if it doesn't show up,
Right, then you're up to
then
three.
you're up to create not enough money. It's in two places, I gotta find the other place.
So what else do you need from us?
Comments, questions, concerns, criticism?
I think this year has been like amazing, especially given the fire situation, fire department situation. And, we're not going crazy. I do think, I just double check to make sure our I's and T's are done in terms of the writing stuff. I think that's important.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Named, so to speak. But I think this process that we've gone through this year, and especially thanks to Roger, has been just pretty different.
I like it.
I think so, I
And the spreadsheet is following a lot harder.
I really did, Roger. And when you told us what you were gonna do with this program, I said, oh my God, it's gonna take a month just to figure out how to turn it on. You know, I did not imagine it would be so facilitated with it so quickly. So I'm relieved.
Now, you saw the spreadsheet we used to work off of, which,
Yeah, they scared the shit out of me.
sorry, it was impossible. It was so not best practices.
I'm looking at this, Steve, you got me looking at this for the year ended June 30th, 2023, and it's very confusing to me,
Which one?
because,
The septic one?
no, the general stabilization and the bridges, roads and culvert stabilization. The general stabilization now is 680, 690. Well, it says it ended
It's gonna be at 6:19.
June 30th, 2023 at 610.
Interest.
No, that's not interest, that's more than interest.
Then we put money
When did
into
we,
this book.
when did we move the separate ones?
Well, that says bridges, roads, and culverts beginning 45,000, ending 0. Fire beginning 15, ending 0.
And what does the 610 begin? Oh, it's 547.
So
What was the?
if you added 60 to that, you'd be really close. So sometimes I just think that the reports are,
If they don't add across, you know,
Where's the red ink come from?
it would be
the
from this,
revenue's accumulated errors.
it'd be from that, when we put bridges and road stabilization and fire stabilization into general stabilization.
That would only be 60 though.
Yeah, and it's 63.
Yeah. What's the other?
Interest.
Okay.
That, everything interest. But $70,000 in interest on that money, no.
I can go back
We're
and
probably
run.
earning little to nothing.
I mean, it's actually, it's like 100 some odd. I have to go back and look, but every month there's interest that shows up.
Right, but what percentage do you think it runs?
I really don't know.
Because like
It's-
six, right, on $600,000, 1%, 10% would be 60, 1% would be $6 grand a year.
Yeah, yeah.
But it might have been as low as 0.5% or something that year. At one point it was running point, right? Point four
That'd be
percent.
good. So given what we've been talking about, it may make sense after we get through this budget season to see what our balances are in each of our accounts and somehow do a track back to see if there's more money that we have that we don't realize we have. It kind of goes along um, with the dashboard concept, Roger, that we can actually see what we've got. And because there may be like Steve just found 40 grand, that's not trivial.
Well, I'm trying to figure, so where did you get the general stabilization money from?
Reported the stabilization.
Okay, so that's actually from the account. Was that in there? Not right.
Yeah, Mickey?
On that septic system thing, I think we wiped that money out, like $4,000. I remember that number
Is
appearing
it
in.
40?
Yeah, but I think it may have happened over the years. Maybe it was on the warrant. It came to me after a while.
You think we took it?
I think we voted it out or something.
Except it's in last year's annual report, that money.
No, the money.
Maybe it wasn't.
Actually,
It wasn't actually done.
Well, it wasn't written
You
down.
know what happened was we made transfers
And the debit.
and the accountant and treasurer never actually made them.
Yeah.
Like when there was a couple that we've done in the last few years. And one year we set aside $50,000 for payment on a vehicle and they only paid 30.
Right.
So there's errors in the books.
So I'll look back through a couple of old warrants and see if that's where, I just remember that number.
Well, it used to be every
Was
year.
there something about that septic system thing, which I never knew anything about?
Yeah, every year there were two, special articles about it. And one was to recognize it as interest and transfer it over, and the other one was somehow. And there were like one or two loans outstanding, but they've long since been paid off. And nobody's ever wanted to borrow that way, and again, the state doesn't want the money back. That was the first thing they told me, we don't want the money back. Just take it as
Just keep it.
They didn't do
Too much
they
bookkeeping.
forgot to do the entries.
Yeah.
Remember we had to hound them to do entries of moving money in there? Right. That's what it was. That's why I didn't show up till the next
Yeah,
year.
that's why you have to do a reconciliation between the actual money you really have.
It's really hard. A lot of these funds have been on.
Because if you're once, and you say we actually have.
Trying to find out.
$50,000,
You gotta figure out where it is.
You gotta then figure out where it came from, those, then you know you have it.
Is it physically there?
And if it's physically there, because you see it in the accumulated bank accounts. And then the question is, can we use it? If we can use it, then it goes into one of our stabilization. Otherwise, you don't know it's there, it's just sitting
So
there.
that difference between that and that is interest, right? It's the other, but that still doesn't explain what happened to the second
Good
one.
catch, Mr. Ryan.
The septic money, as of the most recent report, so a year newer, June 30th, 2024, the septic money grew to $1,500 to $44,000.
Which means it was actually existed.
Which is only used.
It's interest.
That's interesting. The question is, why do we still have it?
Why don't we know about it?
Why?
You know,
I looked for it. Yeah, well, it's probably crazy because somebody convinces you for it to do nothing. I went to the state. I got overruled. I went to the state and they told me how to do it. I said to the select board and I was overruled
thank you
by
for coming
somebody.
back.
Thank you for coming back.
If the question is, do we try to do stabilization?
Well, I never get an answer. I don't think you can, I will say, I don't think you can just divert it to another fund. I think you have to take it in as miscellaneous income. Otherwise, you would have to ask the citizens to appropriate. So in other words, if you want, this is a source,
Right.
and you want to use it for something, the voters have to appropriate, right? I may be wrong. But that's a source of income.
Well, if you have existing monies, you could also ask them to put it into stabilization, for example, instead of.
is
doing
that
the
process?
cash
I think you gotta take it in
The
as
cash.
free cash. and
Right.
you can adjust and you can add it. I just don't think you can go.
one.
But we'll look into it.
Go look and see what's there
It's
today.
almost like we moved from one state to another and we forgot to close out a bank account. It's still sitting there, you know? It's been 10 years, 15 years, and it's still the first bank of wherever.
It's a lot.
We've got the money here and it's still, we don't even know it's there.
Really? That's a
And
lot.
they gave me interest.
Nice.
Anything else?
Money to make
Denise,
sense.
just to bring it back, anything else before finance committee leaves, anything else you wanna talk about? Any other $40,000 you want to?
Well done, Steve.
Well, it's just.
Motion to adjourn the finance
You've been
committee.
eating at me for 10-something years.
Motion to adjourn the finance committee.
Aye.
Okay, we're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done, everybody.
We'll be back next week to cross the T's, dot the I's.
Okay, and then we're gonna have.
Susan did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you.
And that was just, when I said to Lauren, when we got home, I said, you notice the difference in tone of the whole meeting? It was a collaborative meeting, people had all kinds of ideas, it was a collaborative meeting, it was a hostile meeting, and they are awesome. You know, I think that really was.
Good question. People were there.
Yeah.
First word information, that's really it.
And most of the
However many
questions
50 people, or whatever you had there, and everybody was engaged and asking good questions. It was excellent. And the tone was great.
I still have a problem with people that wanna make another town pay every time I'm sending back to their town.
Well, some lady came up to me afterwards, she was like, what's your funding capacity?
Thank you, have a good night.
Good night.
Night.
Roger, I hope your hand feels better. I would shake your hand, but no one says that. I won't see you in a while.
I didn't look to see if there was any.
Well, part of the time we're in New York, we're going to nine, but part of the time.
She never does it.
No, it's just a way. Lauren's mom is 96 and she's ill. And Lauren's never been back home. She's just here, she'll listen more. If she's here, she'll listen there.
Well, she asked me
Just
one
the
thing.
way we've gone through it, you know, it's just the way.
Yep.
I'm
All right. Okay, if you're gonna have another conversation, please move to the hallway.
Bye, everyone.
Keep everyone. Yeah. You're the boy.
We're moving on to the
Lombardo.
Lombardo property. So,
I know, right? You're sure, Margie did express a strong opinion that we should not have taken the property because it would still be on the tax roll.
We also.
We have enough.
It wasn't on the tax roll for that, what was it on the tax roll?
We all said like 1.1.
or something like that.
No,
No,
was
was
it?
it?
Nothing on it.
Can we just,
There's nothing on it.
do we look back at the budget before we go? I'm just gonna stop sharing.
No, you're good.
We were.
Alright, well, we did, we're here where we
I
are.
know.
Let's talk about what's on the agenda for tonight.
Yes.
So we signed a letter back in December.
That's me. It was probably.
Good job.
He probably was opening his car and his wrong.
Where's the old letter? I have a copy of it too. In my bag. I have the original, probably. The one I took to the deed. The original letter said 1,900,000. The request is
2,045,000.
This is the new one?
Well, that's the change.
2,045,000 from 1,900,000. we accept a conditional upon receiving the updated assessment. So, appraisal assessment, I'm not sure what it is. But according to Dean, they had maybe some state or another appraisal, but they had an appraisal. No, it's not for the assessment, it's the appraisal, so, and it was $2,045,000, and he'd obviously like to use that number. So I would say, there's also 3 signatures, which is, we're gonna have to notarize this, so here's what I would propose if you both all are comfortable with it, that I would go ahead and sign it when and if I see the updated higher appraisal for $2,045,000, and with the additional sentence. You saw the red line. What's the additional
It
sentence?
says, aside from the aforementioned restricted use of the property, Lombardo Group receives no goods or service in consideration in whole or in part of the contributed property described below.
So those are the 2 changes, the amount and that sentence.
What was the previous amount?
$1,900,000. And that was based on Steve Boyce's appraisal from Sotheby's, which was the middle appraisal. I'd also, if you're comfortable with it, go ahead and sign that, but I'd probably just make one signature line so that all 3 of us don't need to get together with a notary, and just run into town and do that.
I'm fine with it.
So we'll say that that the town will agree to the higher amount when and if we receive the evidence of the appraisal, and I'll go ahead and sign that with the notary when and if it happens.
It's still the same restricted use.
Yeah.
Although honestly, with the water table there, I want housing there. Nice. We're thinking nice people. No boat launch.
There's also a tax form that will be filled out.
He showed that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Got a copy of it.
So again, I'll go ahead and sign that, depending on how that evidence flakes out. Form 8283. If you add up the numbers there, 748,000 times 2 plus 565,000 equals 2,045,000. So if we get the updated appraisal, we'll sign the letter and we will do the tax form. I don't know if we can make a decision tonight about mowing, but we can talk about it briefly. Roger, you can explain.
So I contacted Scott Anstead, Rick Milkey, and Gary O'Brien, and asked them for what it would cost to mow the lawn at the 2 acres, plus do some cleanup spring and fall. Scott was around $200 a cut. I think it was $200 a cut, about $800 a month. Rick Milkey was $160 a cut, is I believe what he said. And I haven't heard back from I haven't talked to Gary O'Brien yet. He emailed me, called me back, left a message. The big difference is that for Scott, the spring and the fall are about $1,400 for the cleanup.
Each time.
For each, so $1,400 for one, $1,400 for the fall, spring.
Some of the DPW to do.
They don't do any mowing.
Yeah.
What?
Awesome. Rick was he said it was going to be about $1,000, and it was about $1,200. But I will say, you know, to be perfectly upfront, Rick was, because he really said that, you know, if Scott was gonna do it, he would bother even doing it. He'd rather see Scott.
I thought I had an email from you, but now I'm not finding it.
Yeah, I sent it to you. Oh, that's why, let me just double check. But yeah, so that's kind of where it's at with those, with the dollar value. So for both of them, it was gonna be, I think, around $4,500 to do all of that. Yeah, I think originally we did that.
Yeah, it was right around there. The spring and fall caught me a little bit off guard. And it's possible we could involve the highway department, but in general, they're not involved in any of the other parks or anything mowing or spring and fall. You know.
We don't have a lot. It's important to remember.
Well, actually, we have a couple of roadside mowers.
Yes.
But you can't, not lawn mowers. Let's just wait for Gary's.
Okay.
quote.
Alright.
That's what. So once I get in touch with Gary, I hear from Gary, I'll let you know what he says.
And that will be related to Parks Commission budget, which I need to finalize with comments.
I still haven't heard about the lifeguards yet either. Okay. Which could increase it.
Town administrator updates.
Really, the only thing that I have going is like the vessel permits should be mailed out sometime this week. The kayak and the racks. We're also getting two new racks put up at the spot there, which will give us 12 additional racks.
So did the raffle already happen?
Yep, the raffles all happened, everything.
We will basically get what they wanted.
Yeah, because this year we had less people. We started a little bit. We started a month earlier. And I think, you know, we put it up on the website and everything, and I think people were just a little slow to get to it, and so we really were about 10 below, 10 less than we had numbers for.
So what's going to happen with the last 10?
The last 10 is coming. It's first come, first serve.
So should we just put out first to get your applications to town hall?
As soon as I send these stickers out, yes. Yeah, as soon as
Because
I
I think
because we should have.
when we first started the program, demand was way higher than supply. We've added racks, and I think some people did it and didn't love it or gave up because they weren't winning. And now last year was perfectly even.
We had one more. We had one more than we had.
And
Now
now
we have 10.
Now we're actually if we once we get the new racks, we're gonna have about probably maybe close to 30 spaces between. So it's 12 plus another 10. Something like 22 spaces.
So here's my only question. I'm thinking about it more. It might get messy if you say first come, first serve, because people might email and say, "Oh, I'll stop by later this week."
It's fine. They can stop by.
Yeah, but should they say the first 10 like checks that you have?
Yeah, I'll have to put it in a way where it's like with the application, you drop off the application.
The only other thing I'm wondering is if you make another deadline and you say we'll do a lottery, a second lottery. Instead of, I don't know.
I think I'd rather just.
I don't want any car accidents for that.
Well, I don't want anybody coming out, you know, into the office and having, you know, seen poor animal get dragged across the counter. Somebody's all angry that things didn't go that well. But yeah, I think we'll be okay. I'll put something together that, you know, if you drop, you know, those that come in with their application and check, we will get a
Or mail it in.
Well, first 10 people will have an application check.
yeah, because once those additional racks come in, I think we'll have pretty close to 20, maybe a little bit over 20 spots.
So we'll have 12 more spots and we still have 10 available.
I think that's what there's available. Yeah. We've gotten a few that have come in, so since
That's a lot down then.
So you still, but you have some of the 10.
yeah, we have some of the original. So we have some of the original 60.
Still available.
Yeah, because there's 60. So the original
More than
60,
60 spots, that's pretty.
and there's 12 we haven't put up yet.
Alright.
Where's the money for that? In Parks Operating?
Yeah.
So that's telling me Parks Operating isn't wire tight. If they can afford 2 kayak racks. That's just gonna be helpful, you know? Well, what I'm just saying is if they're doing projects like that, they're not.
Well, it's kind of in their budget for that.
I think they did budget.
Yeah, budgeted for the year. And so their budget sort of fluctuates up and down because of projects.
I think that was in their project.
Yeah.
Or this fiscal year. All right.
I know they have some budget items too that we're just nailing down the last
Yeah.
few budget items.
And then, the other thing is just transfer station sticker applications. I plan on getting them out, mid-April. Get them out and then make the switch over at the beginning of May. Meaning that if somebody goes online to buy it, it'll be for the next fiscal year.
Make the switch one.
I'm thinking May 1 or sometime.
Well,
Because what happens is if you go online.
want to change it before you mail them out.
Well, yeah, I'll change it right when I start the mail.
Because we've had that problem in prior years where people go and buy next year's sticker and it's really.
It happened to me last year. It all got a little messed up. Yeah. People were buying them and I didn't realize I had to change it. So yeah, the plan is to change it May 1st. Right around there.
Here's a problem that we've had in the past that maybe you can make sure doesn't happen. And I saw it myself when you went to buy transfer station stickers, you didn't find out till like the last page with the prices.
Oh, it's the way that.
I know it's the way,
Yeah, I
online
think
system
yes,
works, and it's
no,
like,
I agree with you.
but there's gotta be a way that even on the first page, even if you put it in the name of the product or something, or somehow in a disclaimer,
I agree.
I think I did
it's
that
just,
last
you
year.
don't go online shopping and then it says, oh, we'll tell you the price of your items at the end.
Yeah, right. I would totally agree. I remember that.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it in a while, but I believe that, the transfer station, give me 1 second here, because so that the holiday hours on there. So if you go to, purchase transfer station stickers FY 25, it says it right there. It says purchase transfer station stickers, this is mail application, current price is $120. And then when you click on it to go to the page, it says right off the bat, purchase transfer station sticker online. When you ask questions, current transfer station sticker price is $120 in red.
But
So
does it say that? So I just clicked on the link.
right off the
This
top.
is what I got to.
Yeah, but before that, before the page before that,
If you click,
Well, that's.
Right
oh,
on
it's
top.
on our page.
It's
but
on our page.
where are you clicking from?
Click to purchase your FY 24 transfer station stickers.
Click on the link to go to the website.
It doesn't tell you the price here, and then it doesn't tell you here.
Oh, when you click there, but it says it right
Yeah,
here.
it does say it on our page, but he's saying when you actually load the page to buy the sticker, it doesn't tell you.
Oh,
Until you go to checkout, which is weird.
I don't know. I just feel like
I
you
think
can't say
it's-
too
I
much.
agree with
It's
you.
weird when you go to buy something.
No, I'll have them write that on the front page then, because I had to tell them to make the change, that like these years, the time at the bottom, the year, and then. Yeah, I'll tell them.
Because I agree. You should know what the price is, like, when you're, even when you're checking out, like, it should tell you all the time, what's in your cart, man. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Anything else? You're good. Unanticipated business?
Yeah.
We got that little note about Beacon Hill and Berkshires. Is that something we should think about somebody going to, or do you get us, like, I just don't even know. My gut is like, that's just kind of a snoozing. But,
Well, if you run into Walmart, you can make sure that the recall special act is making progress in the Senate.
making progress even has a number, anything, I mean, we did get that notice from Lee, that
From
was.
the House. Yeah, so
I appreciated that she bothered to send.
it's great to have a new person.
Yeah,
We wanna.
They wanna
she helped us with the
do
town
right
clerk.
by you.
She was struggling to get to the, she was having problems getting
The
to
state computer?
yeah, no, actually, she got into the state computer, but she was having trouble getting to the vital records. Because between Chris leaving and her coming, her starting the position, his account had got locked for the vital records, and they switched to a different front end, a different application. So she was struggling to get in, and Ken Bassler was trying to get death certificates for his wife, and he was coming in like 3 times a week, and he was getting frustrated, and she was getting frustrated. So I emailed Lee Davis's office, and I don't know if it was just coincidence or whatever, but within 24 hours she had access to the system. and they called somebody over at where the virtual, where the vital records are kept.
If I go other than that, I mean, I feel like talking to him about emergency services.
Did you see the article in the Berkshire Eagle where they interviewed Lee Davis on?
No.
Yeah, I got it.
I should read it, I
It
mean.
was a week ago.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
last
it
week.
was interesting. He talked about housing too.
But, I mean, is there, if I go to this thing, is there anything else you want to bring?
Emergency service.
I know, that one in the.
Well, not only emergency service, but the dispatch operation, based on what Chris and Sean said a week ago. You know, how you can't use the technology to.
Well, they have to upgrade, they're upgrading the personnel, but now they have to upgrade the technology
Yeah,
too,
but
and that's gonna take some time.
Yeah, but do they have money to do it? Well, I don't know.
Right. Because.
They don't have our assessment anymore.
But the whole thing is that what they said to us is that the actual hardware and the software are, the hardware is so old that none of the new software that does the higher tech, 911 services will run on. So in order to get the newer stuff that will actually, for example, dispatch the closest department rather than the one that's in the same town, they can't do that on the old software. But to get the new software, they have to get new hardware, so there's like a big impediment to moving things along. Sorry.
No, I'm just, with that, I had to get a new printer, and when I got a new printer, I had to get a new computer.
Yeah,
I mean,
nothing supports the old computer anymore, right, I know.
But,
They can get email, did they?
no, they didn't. There's something wrong with it, just, I get that. What I was going to say, the state, Gilmore gave us money for like affordable housing, and then there was money for something else that we were, and it was one, I mean, was it affordable houses because we're second homeowners or something?
I don't know.
That second homeowner thing,
When-
but there were two different
How
things.
much? When this happened?
It was like 2 months ago.
When they did the seasonal communities thing.
Yeah.
Seasonal
There's no
communities
money,
designation.
there's no money, it's just a designation.
I thought there was money involved.
No,
Not yet.
there's a designation, and if, oh, that's what's not in there.
But I
But
thought
we're
we
gonna wait
were
till
holding
fall.
off because.
If we were to, yeah, if we were to accept it, we don't get any money. We have the responsibility, we have to allow tiny homes. And
No.
we are able to tax second homeowners at a different rate.
And there was something else, but I guess there's no money
There's
involved.
no actual money.
Yeah.
There may be some grants down the road, but nothing right off.
I just thought there was maybe money involved in that,
Sadly,
you know, like the fire department or something, you know, whatever.
I'd like to see it have some type of benefit other than just, you have to do tiny homes.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not sure what it gives us that's desirable.
From what I see.
I don't know.
I have an unanticipated business.
Go.
Well, it's more to do with the warrant, but we should do a cover letter.
Yes.
And it'd be really good to break down where's the 12.6%. And at least 1% is from items that have been special articles for years that really should have been operating, and we're now making that switch. So that's
Great.
the retiree health and life benefit
It's,
and the Lake Garfield stuff. So we've been doing both of those for many years, and they're not discretionary expenditures. So
that's close to.
yeah. And schools is a certain percent, probably close to 1%, and et cetera. But I think it'd be good to break down for people because it's a big ask, and it's just nice to be able to explain why.
Yeah, I was actually calculating something on the basis of what you said. Admittedly, a big piece of it comes from Yeah,
Sorry.
so it's probably 6%.
So we can figure it out. I just think it's always good to do a cover letter, and
Yeah, no,
the sooner we get on it, the better.
I'm trying to figure out, like, it's complicated though, because that number doesn't actually cover all the fire. So to do it more accurately,
Yeah, you're
I have to.
gonna do
Right,
emergency
you have to do,
service.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I wasn't gonna do even emergency service, I was gonna do, because the ambulance is in a special
Yeah.
article, but I should include the insurance.
Yeah, you should.
I think it's only fair.
It's a real cost.
Yeah, because if you're hiring people, you're paying for their insurance, and that would be included if I just took that number, so.
The ambulance, so there's two articles that we all know shouldn't really be special articles, but we're doing it because it keeps us not insanity, which is the ambulance and the OPEB.
Yeah.
I mean, OPEB, a contribution to OPEB should probably be in the operating budget, and also, eventually, maybe we'll do a contribution to the general stabilization fund in the operating budget.
We should be putting money in and we're not, like.
Anything else before we move on to minutes?
I'm sorry.
You go.
Mine was really silly, not silly, but, so down in the basement, it just occurred to me, the council on aging is looking to start storing items that are spread out amongst people's garages for people to share, like things like wheelchairs, walkers, things like that. So Brian, Chief Fahey, did a great job cleaning up down there, straightening it all out. But we have some things, you know, and I just, those things that they put in the doors during COVID, those racks that have the plastic that they would put in the doorways, so you could come, so you could talk to people.
Sneeze guards.
Sneeze guards.
Right.
I would like to get rid of them, and I can either try to put them in municipal or find some place to store them. Is that an issue with any of you?
Are they just plexiglass?
It's just plexiglass and wood. That's all it is.
Let's see if we can.
Because I mean, my other option, the only place to store them would be like up at the schoolhouse. That's the only
We
place
get
that's,
destroyed, we might as well sell them.
that's the only place.
Right, we'll just get destroyed.
All right, I'll look and see if anybody wants to buy a sneeze
You're
guard.
gonna get chased out by the raccoons.
Yeah,
I know, right?
That was because I was just reminded of it.
It's just sheets of plexiglass?
It's just plexiglass with wood frames.
And how many are there?
I think there's like 4.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna.
Where would they put it?
They were put in the doorways, from what I understand.
What doorways?
Like you would close the doorway to the council on aging and the Concom, so you could go talk to them.
Yeah, I
Or
remember that.
they put them in the doorway, like to close the plexiglass,
So you're talking through the
and
plexiglass?
so you have it, so you could have the doorways to see, I guess, yeah, the town clerks or something like that.
Yeah.
Susan, should we continue some kind of meeting with the fire chief and the deputy fire chief?
Well, I assumed so, but, I mean, I can't imagine we're gonna stop meeting with them.
Well, I didn't, you know.
I mean, honestly, I took today off.
No, I'm doing. Yeah, well, you know, they have some of the meetings here, like we did on Tuesday. I have
Like you were doing.
doing, so I could be part of the discussion.
I mean, at some point, I can do, I sort of feel like if we're doing it to try to finalize the budget for the budget, if we've made that decision, then.
Well, we could, we got between, say, for the past, you got between May and July, but there's, you know, there's just different issues.
I don't think it's gonna go away.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're still working with them, and I suspect that there's more to work on.
Mhm.
I don't know, I've got the EMS meeting on Friday, I don't know what's gonna come from that, and Sean, we had the joint meeting with SBA and all the ambulance companies, and we all feel like there needs to be an opportunity for the 4 towns to have conversations. And we talked about doing it after budget season, but we don't wanna wait till July.
No, you don't want to.
You know, I think we need to get that ball rolling and having people talking about what we're gonna, like, how we're gonna manage and navigate.
Well, it's not only that, but I mean, you know, listening to the recording the other day, you know, the payroll system. How are you gonna payroll that if you do this kind of shift?
You mean trying to even out the
Yeah,
amounts?
so, you know.
Yeah, that's actually a note I have for my next
Yeah,
conversation.
I think we gotta address, you know, the lease in the Monterey Fire Company versus the fire department, but I don't have any set rules or anything, but I think it's gotta be an open and rules discussion.
And I do think we have to readdress the issue that I don't think that the police should be paying for that. I think we should put that in a separate warrant and put on a separate.
I mean, we need to have a discussion. I don't want, we don't need the, we need just to start talking
I know, but
about
I
it.
feel like I need a couple weeks.
Well, it's fine, you've done more than I have, believe me, and I understand where you're going. I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah, no, I wasn't envisioning that not
Yeah.
continuing. I mean, we've got good conversations going and we built a lot of trust and I don't wanna undermine that. And part of that is staying tuned in and making sure you keep track of what's going on. And
That's wrong.
if nothing else, being in that building and having run out to calls keeps you tuned in on what's going on too. So, yeah.
All right, minutes.
And goodbye.
I'm just checking. There's nothing else particularly, what are we doing next week, by the way?
Next week, we gotta finalize the numbers.
That's right.
Following week, the warrant has to be signed, right?
I think will basically be, I'm delinquent in a couple of little things and Roger's working on a couple of little things that are just finalizing budget. Finalizing budgets.
Good night.
Take care.
Figuring out that pavilion's funding, getting all the T's crossed and I's dotted.
What happened to just the one guy?
It's beyond stupid,
I know.
I mean,
That's
spending all
true.
that money on that consultant. and
So
prices-
here's an interesting thing, anyone ever follow up with West Rockford?
About the
The two of them? That'd be interesting to see. I wonder if they got away with it.
Or they just, I mean,
Where was it? Was it in their downtown?
they might have just plonked the,
I
they
can,
bought
I
a
used to
finished
have a
thing
theory
and
at
knocked
work,
it down.
when I
and just-
built it, and then that's what they did.
Yeah, sort of like the bridge.
You know, it's just like, it's incredibly stupid.
I know.
For a building that it's gonna be used, what, 4 months a year, and you gotta add a bathroom. Really,
I know. It makes me crazy. But even, I
I
mean,
really wonder why people don't come get a permit.
yeah.
I never wondered.
I never wondered. I think he doesn't wonder either. Oh, all right. Are we doing minutes?
We're doing minutes, all right,
Which one?
March 10th, those are the oldest.
Okay, did you see my note to you, Susan, I incorporated your change and deleted that one line out of the question?
Yes, and, I think the only other thing is I did send the document to the meeting when I sent it out, but it isn't listed here. So it should probably read, whatever the title of the document is that I sent.
Okay, I'll add that, I'll add.
Okay, I know what you're doing.
So I'm moving that the select board and finance committee working meeting minutes for Monday, March tenth. Be, approved as amended.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Abstain.
Okay, 311. Wow, burning through power tonight, I'm at 58% at this point.
Wait, we're looking at,
Oh, I had no comments on 311.
all right,
Wow, not even a typo, dude, you're on fire.
Must have too much free time.
Not much longer. Enjoy every minute, dude. Oh my god.
311 is approved as drafted.
But you just sent out 313, right, Susan?
No, 313 is Annabelle, and she was following up with me about some last minute questions. She's wrapping those up.
I
Okay.
sent out 325.
325, okay.
I know, and I didn't,
I didn't-
it's talking out so late, I didn't
I
expect,
didn't know, I didn't.
but I wanted at least,
to.
I didn't expect you to, but I wanted to get them done.
All right, that's good.
that all of them?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the ones that we have in our hands.
I tell you now, you guys get the credit, you go on some of these sites, and they don't have minutes from 3 months ago. They don't need.
Are we, wait, did someone make a minutes for Saturday?
I wasn't, because it,
Ooh.
I wasn't. I mean, I figured the
Yeah.
slide should be equivalent to
Yeah.
minutes. Do you really have to have minutes? Like, I don't remember what all the questions were, the things recorded, so I guess.
Don't sweat right now.
If someone asks you during the presentation, did we give it up on the?
I mean, the thing is, there was no.
I only said one thing.
Yeah, there's no deliberation. We delivered a presentation of which is extensively documented, and then
There was a
we
question,
answered questions.
I answered 1 or 2 questions, but you did 8% of it.
But even if you were answering questions, we weren't deliberating.
Yeah.
How long is it?
An hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, hour and 45 minutes. The timekeeper started
Yeah.
cutting it off.
Thank you.
Okay, people.
I'm good.
I mean, if you think I should do minutes.
Don't, it's not your problem. Yeah, we're a little bit behind on minutes. I didn't even, not bother, but I didn't even get to March 18th.
It's at 58 views since yesterday.
Oh, really?
Oh, that kind of makes me happy.
Oh, that's
actually.
good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing
You
some
want
of the
people-
views are people that were there but wanted to have the thing, which is fine. Why put it up there?
Any other comments and questions from the
Did you
public?
look at it by now?
I've not, no.
I don't blame you.
No, I was out of town.
I was doing something.
I think I have on my calendar the next one.
Yeah, the ninth.
I mean, honestly, if you just look at the slideshow.
I did look at the slideshow. I saw myself. I could figure out by the process of elimination, because I know that I'm not injured or living out of town or working out of town.
You probably also know the number of calls you went on. Close to.
Vaguely. Yeah, I mean, you have to report. Anyway, figured it out who I am.
That was kind of fun.
No, it was well received.
Did you
I
go?
thought there were a lot of good questions.
Yeah, a lot, I was happy that a lot of the questions were, like ones that I expected. I didn't feel like,
You didn't get caught off guard.
no, I pretty much had, I mean, I felt like we predicted.
But
most of
you
them.
have all the participants for the core group of the town that shows up. What's that other percentage?
I
I have no,
80-20 rule, 20%.
yeah, you just don't know what they're saying.
No, you don't.
But you can't worry about it. We've offered we've offered an open house, so.
But, at the end of the day, people don't wanna participate, and then they just wanna complain. Somebody wants to step forward with a better solution, I am all ears. I would love a better solution.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
There is a motion to
I'll
adjourn.
second.
And we'll call a vote.
Yes.
Woot!
Yes.
Yes.
Unanimous vote to adjourn the meeting at 7:39 PM.